Hey, it's meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen here with the 9 News Weather Impact Team with a little bit of an update for your weather situation. We've got a couple more really unusually warm days here today and tomorrow. That'll come with some gusty winds in some spots, and that also will add up to some pretty high fire danger. We have some good bit of fire weather, which is the combination of dry fuels, warm conditions, dry air, and also some gusty winds. And so we have the fire weather warnings in place for today, and we'll have another round for tomorrow. And then we'll get into our next storm system, which is actually going to be the strongest storm of the year, talking about intensity and power. Unfortunately, for snow lovers, it's going to come in very warm, so we're not looking at very much snow potential here, especially in the Front Range, possibly on the Palmer Divide and Eastern Plains in some spots, but it'll most likely be a Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota storm as far as the blizzard and snow goes, but we're going to get a fair amount of wind with this storm system here as it stretches from the high in the atmosphere all the way to the surface with its circulation. So it's going to be a very powerful cyclone, just out of range and just a little too warm to have high impacts to the Denver metro area, but it's something to be noteworthy here as we go into Friday. Now let's start this weather story here off by looking outside. You can see Mount Blue Sky there, lots of blue skies over Mount Blue Sky this morning, lots of snow. That area of the state has had a decent amount of snow, just slightly above the normal for the winter season. And Mount Blue Sky usually peaks, it hits its peak snowpack about the second week of April, so we still have another month to build that snowpack before it starts dwindling down with the warmer temperatures and the fewer snowstorms going into May and even early parts of June. So your satellite picture here says a little bit of a story. There's just a tiny little disturbance moving through the upper atmosphere over the state of Colorado today. You can see the clouds that it's creating, even some flurries in parts of the high country today, especially down to the south in the San Juans. But the next storm system, that big powerful storm I was talking about, is brewing out there in the Pacific Ocean. You can already see parts of the atmospheric river towards the bottom of that low pressure trough here coming into the northern parts of California here, delivering a fair bit of rain to northern California. That will get to our area by Friday morning, at least for the Front Range and Eastern Plains. It'll be here tomorrow night here for most of the mountains as far as that snow goes in the mountains. So here's your forecast for the rest of the day here. We could probably squeeze out a few more degrees and warm up pretty close to 70 degrees. A lot of us will probably stop just short, but it'll be another very warm day. Some 70s out there on the southeast plains and some 40s in the mountains as we go through the next few hours here. So that 68-degree temperature here that's forecast for Denver would be a good 13 or so degrees warmer than average, and really only about 7 degrees away from tying a record. I think 70 might be the threshold for high potential for today. I don't really see that record in threat. 70-degree temperature carries a pretty high probability, but really the 67, 68, and 69-degree range is where most of the Denver metro area sees its highest probability. And that 32, that was the temperature that hit Denver International Airport this morning. Just getting down to the freezing point, that's just a few degrees warmer than the normal temperature. So all these warm conditions, dry air, gusty winds, it'll all add up to some fire danger out there. We do have a red flag warning in place down to southeast Colorado, and that will extend further up into Douglas, parts of Douglas, Albert, and Lincoln counties for tomorrow. So we'll just expand that fire weather warning just a tad bit as we go into tomorrow's forecast. High temperatures for tomorrow, just a few degrees warmer likely here. Could hit 70 degrees here in Denver. The threshold is a little bit warmer for all of us on the Front Range and Eastern Plains. So we'll see a quite a bit of some 70-degree temperatures being reported in tomorrow, and that will just kind of come before that next storm system hits. Some decent amount of sunshine once again as well tomorrow, and that does include the mountains. So these 40-degree temperatures in the mountains will also come with a fair bit of sunshine. So if there's any powder left out there from that last storm cycle that you can find, it will be a blue sky and powder day. But mostly it's a groomer day, but it's a nice conditions for you as you go into the day. Weather pattern here now that you can see right over the state of Colorado there and Kansas, that little dip of low pressure, that's just that little upper level disturbance that's moving through today. Fairly low impact as far as snow in the mountains, just a couple of flurries, no actual accumulation expected out of this storm system. The winds will be gusty down to the south and east of Denver. That's where we have those fire weather warnings in place. And that'll also help get those temperatures up because we're generally under the ridge of high pressure. This is just a tiny little shortwave upper disturbance pushing through. And then here comes the one on Friday. You can see the position here on Friday morning. This is about 11 o'clock on Friday morning as the low pressure re-strengthens as it comes over the Rocky Mountains, and it looks like it's going to take a little bit of extra time to redevelop. So kind of like the last really powerful storm system that we had didn't really reform its center of circulation until it got out into western Kansas. And by that point, the Denver metro area was almost completely removed from the impacts of this storm. Not expecting to see too many impacts along the Front Range, except for some gusty winds in the 20 to 35, 20 to 40 mile per hour range. Eastern Plains possibly getting up into that 60 mile per hour wind gust range again, just like the last storm, almost identical to that storm, except in timing just a little bit later in the day, as that last storm kind of started at midnight the night before and kind of went through the morning. This will kind of get started during the morning hours. You can see the snowfall forecast here. Snow is not going to be the issue with this storm. We're looking at a lot of places on the Front Range here not even getting any accumulating snow. May see some snow falling, but likely not going to see it actually accumulate, even on the cold surfaces. Then you get down into the Denver area and you can see a trace to 2-inch possibility. So this is a little slushy dusting, and maybe some parts of the south and east part of town get close to 1 inch of snow. And then a little bit higher potential once you get out towards Lyman there, but I think it'll be very similar to that last storm where you really only see about 2 inches. No matter how much snow actually falls from the sky, you only end up with 1 or 2 inches on the ground. So it's going to be the wind that is the high impact here. And you can see the forecast here. That went a little fast. Let me back that up and go a little bit slower. So this is Friday morning early. You start to see those winds get a little gusty here along the Front Range by about 8 to 9 a.m. Could get some 30 mile per hour gusts in there, and then it spreads quickly out to the Eastern Plains, and that's where you start to see those 40, 50, and even 60 mile per hour winds through the afternoon and early evening hours, and not really starting to dissipate until you get into the later portions of Friday night. So it's going to be a strong spring-like storm, but the main impacts are going to be wind, and those location for those impacts will be on the Eastern Plains. So we do have a weather impact alert because of those wind gusts in the area and mostly out on the Eastern Plains, and then we'll slowly warm back up into St. Patty's Day, hitting another 70-degree storm, where the next storm system coming in is much weaker than the last few storms we've seen, but it will be a little bit colder, so there'll be snow potential on Wednesday morning. That is your forecast. I hope you all have a great day.